Well, Roger Northrup, thanks for doing this again. I appreciate you doing, volunteering to do this interview, so that way we know a little bit more about Tall Row and the beginnings, right? And just not only that, but just how each person has their own distinct experience with Tall Row at Cal State San Marcos. So thank you for doing this.
My pleasure, Mr. Luna.
Call me Frank, man. Come on,
Absolutely, I will.
Well, let's start. Roger Northrup, the third, right?
Second.
The second, Roger Northrup, the second. So tell us, where are you from? Where exactly were you from?
So my dad was in the military in the United States Army when we were growing up. So we did live in quite a few places. We lived in North Carolina. We lived in Italy for a few years. And when we moved back to Lakewood, which is, Long Beach area in California. And in the end of elementary school, we moved down to San Diego. That's where my mom was from. So that's where I grew up. I went to Vista High School, and then I went to Rancho Buena Vista High School, which was cool because there were no seniors the first year. So we, as juniors, we were seniors, and then we were seniors again. So that was kind of a unique experience that we got to have in our community.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. Now, what was your grad year?
That's a long time ago, Frank. I believe high school was 1989.
Wow. Okay, I remember that. I was in high school in the same area, Oceanside, and I remember when RBV just started, and that was a big deal. You mentioned Italy. Tell me about that.
So my dad was got stationed over there. He was into like logistics was his part of what he did in the military, coordinating things going in all different directions. So we were over there from the time I was 4 until I was just about 8. It was a great experience. We all used to speak fluent Italian. As I got older, I forgot how to speak Italian, but my parents, they tried to be sneaky and speak in Italian, and I could figure out what they were saying. I just couldn't respond. So it was pretty cool. I've gone back to Italy several times as an adult. It just definitely holds a special place, in my mind. So you're so close there in Barcelona. I hope you've gone down there.
Yeah. Italy is a great place, like you mentioned. So it's interesting to see that you've actually been outside the country and experienced that international thing. That's cool. That's great. All right. So RBV High School, graduation. Roger, the world's in front of you. What goals did you have, and what did you want to do? How did you get to Cal State San Marcos?
So my first thought was to be a teacher. So I started off at Palomar, and that was right when I started. They were just starting to build that campus, and I think it was not at the actual campus. They had it somewhere else, like kind of like a warehouse, basically, where the school initially started. And so I went to Palomar for 2 years, and I had heard through the grapevine that basically they wanted students from the local area at Cal State San Marcos. And if you had gone to Palomar, I mean, it was almost a guarantee. As long as you had like a 2.5 GPA, you got in. I still wanted to, stay close to my family. My sisters were still in school. I was still kind of going back and forth between living at home and, living on my own. As a struggling student, money was an issue. So sometimes you had enough to live by yourself, and sometimes you didn't.
All right, great. So you went through Palomar, then Cal State San Marcos was a thing. So when you visited Cal State San Marcos, tell us about that. And when you got in, tell us about your experiences being there.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember the first day you had to actually go to the campus to actually get your classes, and you had like a time assigned. You had to go into the admissions office, and that's when you actually signed up for your classes. So you could crash them later, but initially to get anything, it was pretty regimented and pretty strict. Well, there was no internet back then. That's how old we are. Um, and so I remember going on campus, and as soon as I came up that first staircase, there was the guys from Teak. I definitely remember that Rob was there, Jens was there. For some reason, I think you were there, and a couple of other of the kind of original members. I don't particularly remember, but what I do remember is that I spent so much time bullshitting with the Teak guys there that I actually missed my appointment to go into the admissions office.
Wow.
And once I realized what time it was, I went up to the lady and she's like, well, you missed your appointment. And, typical me at that point, I gave her a real BS story and she felt sorry for me. And so she let me in. And I got my classes, and I loved Cal State San Marcos. The kind of almost family atmosphere that it had, because it was so small. And I think it was just an amazing experience for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, just because it was so small. The teachers knew you really well. It was a very personalized education, which I think is something that's missing now. And I feel that benefited all of us. It's like living in a small town. Everybody knows your business, which is a good thing. Slightly a bad thing sometimes, but I thought it was awesome, and I really enjoyed my time there. I was sad when it was over.
You're right. That's basically my experience as well. It's great that you talked about how close it was. Right in the beginning, it was so new, and it was definitely a change of small classrooms and seeing the same faces again, passing through the hallways, or even at lunchtime, seeing the same faces. That's something different, and yeah, okay, great. So how about your choice of study? What did you decide to concentrate in?
Well, I think like yourself, we're both history majors. And I got to be honest. Other than science, nothing really interested me in high school. While I did, okay, I think I had like a B average in high school and college, but nothing really interested me. I'm definitely not the science kind of guy either. And thinking about being a teacher, I was like, well, what is there going to be a good, where can I learn some stuff about, I've always thought that previous events and history have been very something I wanted to learn more about. And so that's just the major I took. And it was amazing. They had such a variety of classes that for such a small school, there was African studies, there was Islamic studies. There was, I remember it's just probably my least favorite class was like a race and gender class. And the teacher absolutely hated men. And I was the only guy in that class. And she just like berated me all the time just for my opinions. Yeah, definitely kind of man opinions. And, not that I didn't, interact and see the other side of it, but, every time I had a wrong answer, she let me have it really good. But I thought all the teachers were amazing there. There is a very dynamic and diverse staff there. All of my, the African studies teacher, he was from Ghana, if I recall correctly. The Islamic teacher, he might have been from Kuwait. So they brought the teachers that they had there at that time really brought a very personal experience again. So we had that personal experience being a small family, and then the staff that they had there, it's like, they were a perfect professor for that school at that time. And like I said, man, it was awesome. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot from those teachers, and they've helped me, be able to be a lot more accommodating, I think, than unfortunately people are today.
That's great. You're right. Being a history major, I totally agree with you with that sentiment. The teachers were so worldly, and coming from a guy kid from San Diego, it's kind of a
Yeah,
shock. And
yeah,
there's like, whoa, okay, you're definitely on edge with what you believed before. But that was what we needed, right? At that time, and so that's great. Do you remember any particular college courses you liked or history classes that you really, or memories about that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I probably remember, most of the classes. I know I did have one professor, uh, at least 3 or 4 times. It was an older lady, Mrs. I think it was Professor Atwood. And she was very nurturing. She tried really hard to help me get into graduate school. Like, it didn't happen, but she read my paper numerous times and critiqued it, and I mean was so personable and helpful. And all of my professors actually, not that I did ask a couple, but several of them even offered, like, Roger, do you want a letter of recommendation? Are you going to graduate school? You want to try that out? They were all just so nice. And I think one other class that really stuck out for me was um, it was a film class. So we actually watched. They were all foreign films, and so they're all dubbed, but they were from the perspective of that foreign country. So it wasn't an American made film. So we watched like a French film about mining in France in like the late 1800s. Amazing film, and which I think that also inspired a really a love of films for me. Me and my son, we have like the AMC Stubs things, and we go to the movies like two or three times a week. Um, he likes the big Marvel movies, as do I. But I also drag him to the artisan films, which I think I hopefully it's enriching his mind. And we watched a film last night. It was half in Chinese and half in English. Very very bizarre film. But it's I mean that I think that's where that whole thing came from. Was from that class, because it was I'm like, watch a movie, like write a paper. I'm like, that seems like an awesome class. And the teacher, she was great. She just had a really great insight into what should you really take away from these films. And just goes back to what I said a couple times. I mean, the teachers that we had there were just like a perfect balance for, I think, what the school was trying to do, and where that school was at the stage.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you can't get away from the teachers. Right? It's just the school is so small and the classroom is so small that you can't hide from the teachers, which actually ended up being a good thing, right?
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, all right. So now you're getting situated. You started your first semester. Now you briefly mentioned about Teak and the booth and some of the people you talked to. Get into that. So why Teak? Did you even know there was fraternities there? How did that happen? How did that start? How did that get into your mind?
Well, I think what happened was, when I first came up there, and everybody in Teak itself was very personable. I we all knew each other. We all interacted with each other. There's a couple guys that I probably don't know very well, but for the most part, I think I know. I could say more than just an acquaintance or a passerby. And so at that time, the guys that were there, they kind of educated me, that there were only two fraternities, two sororities. And they talked some good trash about SAE. So it was all about I think it was all about the quality of insults that they had against the other guys. Rob and he's Rob's a funny guy. He's so personable and so social. And Jens was there. He was like, I didn't know him later on in life, but he was so serious. And he had such, he was like you right now. He's like, well, what are you doing here, Roger? What do you want to do? It was like 20 questions. But I mean, being from San Diego, I mean, it's not like I needed friends. But I just immediately felt a great bond, with the guys that were there, and they were talking about how they were starting the fraternity. I mean, we weren't even a colony then. It was just kind of like a group of guys trying to do that, and that seemed like something really interesting to be a part of. So those two things kind of just drew me in. The guys were just very, very interactive, and I don't know how many guys you still talk to, but I still talk to quite a few guys. We've hung out and done some stuff, and it was another enriching experience that has it's lasted a lifetime, which I think that's the goal, what it was supposed to do. And it's great to have, just even though we don't talk every day, we don't see each other. I don't think there's too many of us that if someone asked us for a favor, one of us would be there. Someone would come help you in your moment of need.
Right, that's true. You mentioned Rob Brack, that boy, and he's going to watch this, and hopefully I get to interview him again. But that man, he's good at talking. He's great.
He is a talker, and Rob's so smart. He's always had a great intellect and a great perspective on things. I remember, I'm very bold. I say what I want to say, and even back then, I remember, Rob was like a calming influence. Like, Roger, you got to just tone that down just a little bit. And it still pops inside my head sometimes. The guys like Rob and my dad, who, like, Roger, slow down, man. You're getting a little bit ahead of yourself. So Rob was probably the most instrumental person in me joining. He was a baseball fan. He played minor league baseball. We talk about baseball all the time on Facebook. I was definitely a privilege to know Mr. Brack.
Absolutely, yeah. So okay, so now there was a bid, right? What was the Rush events bid process? How did that go for you?
I thought this is gonna be horrible. I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Like learning the Greek alphabet. I mean, that's kind of a cool thing. But I remember we had to do that, and we had to do a couple of other things, which I don't remember, but I do remember, the 10, 12 guys that were in our pledge class. We got together, if I recall correctly, and we kind of help each other out. But I probably the most vivid memory of the pledge class is the night that we had like 3 fires, somewhere on the beach somewhere. And there was this one part of the event when we were trying to get to point A to point B to point C. We were going through like some bushes or like some sewer. I don't know what it was, but there was, not anything seriously dangerous, but there was like a crevasse, some kind of concrete thing. We had to somehow get across that. And that was, we all kind of helped each other do that. And that's just another one of those prime examples that brings back to me why we joined the fraternity is that whole bonding experience and helping each other, taking care of each other and other people as well. And so, yeah, I remember getting down to 3 fires, and I think we had to recite the Greek alphabet, as you got to each fire. So, that whole night, that was a super cool experience. I wish that I had gone back and, done it from the other side, which I never did for whatever reason. But that's, really the only thing I really truly remember about the pledge class. If we did some events, I'm afraid that those memories are gone.
Maybe for the better.
maybe that's probably true.
Yeah, no, 3 fires definitely a great tradition, and lots of the stuff in 3 fires go into that, and it's definitely weird. And things going, maybe that's part of it, like you said, all the things happening around you, and and how you deal with that, right? How you deal with that together. How do you come through that together as a group? That's a teachable moment, that's for sure. So now you're active. Well, I mean, initiation, active. We can't talk about initiations that much here in the video, but now that you were active, so were there any friends that you really like got into and hung out with a lot? What was that like at being an active?
Yeah. So, the person that I hung out with the most in college was Lance. We were inseparable. Me and Lance actually went to Europe together. We spent about I don't know 5 or 6 weeks. We went to England, to Ireland. We went to the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, France, Italy. So that was an amazing experience for me as well. Being over there in all those countries and with just that one person. Unfortunately, me and Lance don't talk anymore. But his friendship at that time was a critical part of me growing up. And maybe he watches this and maybe he reaches out, because I do miss that guy.
Wow, I never knew both of you went to Europe together. That must have been, I mean, traveling together with another guy, it's like you need to bond, you need to be together, right? How was
Yeah.
that? What was that like?
Lance, very, very different from me, philosophically. But it was kind of like a yin and yang, right? We perfectly balanced each other. He was kind of a little bit crazy. I was a little bit crazy, but I would reel us back in. Lance, he gave me the love of the Grateful Dead. I'm still a fan today. I forced my children to enjoy the music, and every year some of the band members are still touring, so me and my sons, we go to that. I have Lance to thank for that. For that 6 weeks in Europe was amazing. We got along so well. I think we did have one big fight at the end of it, because after a while you can only see someone every second of the day for 6 weeks, and without a break. I did hang out with Rob a little bit. He was obviously a huge baseball fan, him and some of the other guys lived together, so I hung out over there quite a bit, just because I also live pretty close to them. But the main guy that was my best friend at that time was definitely Lance.
That's great. Yeah, I do remember that. You guys were inseparable. I miss Lance too. He's hopefully he comes around. So I do remember those times. When but the good thing about the chapter is that, as you said in the beginning, I think that's there's so many different partnerships are being formed, right, within the group, and that's natural, right? And so you have yours, and then someone else has theirs, but then all of a sudden, every once in a while, once a week or whenever we have events or things, that all comes together and becomes this weird, amazing thing and experience, right? So very cool, nice.
And I guess I remember another person that was definitely friends. And we did hang out from time to time, but my little brother Casey, and him and his best friend at the time, Oliver, they lived in the student housing, and the girl I was dating at the time, she was like the resident, whatever they call that, at the those Chromie apartments near the school. But anyway, Casey's a good guy. We hung out a lot. I still talk to him today. He's recently became a father. So, I've chatted to him, a little bit about that, trying to pass on a little bit of info, about the nightmare that is to come as your children get older. But yeah, Casey and Lance, man, just brought a lot to me personally, and I'm also privileged to know them.
That's great. That's great. That's right. You were a big brother and went through that experience. So what family are you from in TKE?
Oh, you know what? I mean, I got to say the only one I do remember as far as the family name is mine, and it's Rob's family. Well, maybe Hushman. I can't. I know Rob for sure was the head of it at the time, but it's the Wild Child family, which suits me just fine. I think Lance is in the family too,
I'm
and
sure.
then obviously, and then Casey, and then and Oliver, because Oliver was Lance's little brother.
Wow, that's fitting. Wild Child, you guys, Wild Child. Do you remember the scroll number you were?
Well, I see the list from time to time, and I always point it out to my sons. I'm like, look how low that number is. It's below 50 for sure. Maybe it's the exact number I don't know, but I know it's less than 50, and it gives me a certain sense of pride, being there that early and helping the fraternity get to where it did. I am bummed out that things happened the way they happened and we're not there anymore. But I did try to convince my older son to go to a school that had teak, but unfortunately he didn't choose one. He is in a fraternity, and he's experiencing that same thing. He asked me about doing it, and I said it's probably one of the best things that I remember about college. I'm like, you see, I talk to some of these guys all the time. Even if we're not seeing each other, we're like sharing stories. We're connected, and we'll always be connected. And I'm like, it's one of the things you absolutely have to do going to college. And I mean, he goes to a big school, and it's a big fraternity. There's like maybe 150 active guys in his class, and he's really enjoying the experience. And I wouldn't have been able to offer that to him and say, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and encourage him if I didn't have the amazing experience that I had with TK at Cal State San Marcos.
Wow, that's great to hear how that goes from you to your son. Just the idea, the experience, that the bonding experience, and being part of something bigger than yourself. That's great. That's a good story to have here and share. So we'll wrap up here, Roger, with nowadays, right? So after graduation, where did life take you, and how do you keep busy today? What's going on with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all had our ups and downs in life. So after college, me and the girl I was dating, we broke up, and I kind of floundered and wandered for a little bit, and I actually moved to Ireland, and I lived there for several years. I guess you could call it that, finding yourself kind of thing. But I think it goes back to me living there as a child. You're there now. Something just, maybe it's part of the history major kind of draws me to those places that are older, that have some kind of culture or something to teach you from. So I lived over there for a few years, and then I met someone. We got married, and we came back to the United States. We had two sons, that didn't end as it ended badly, which that happens. And a few years later, I actually reconnected with an old friend from Escondido, and so we're together. We live in Tennessee. We have a daughter, and then I've got my two sons, and then she has her daughter from her first marriage. So we're like out here, living in the country. It's open, it's quiet at night. And I recently started finally teaching. It's only substituting, but that has also been an amazing experience, and very enriching. And it's great to actually finally realize that goal that I had so long ago, in keeping at it. Other than that, try to hit up the Grateful Dead concerts when they're around. Me and my sons, we do have this personal goal where we're trying to go to all of the Major League Baseball stadiums. So you'll every summer, if you look back, or even that next summer, you'll see we're posting where we're going. So we've only got 2 more to go. which is the Minnesota Twins and the New York Mets. So that's our goal, is to knock out the Major League Baseball stadium tour this summer. What we do is, what keeps us busy is, I mean, 2 kids living here, 2 kids are adults, but I think until you're like 40, you still really need mom and dad. That's just the way it goes. So, that takes a ton of my time, substituting, 2 or 3 days a week, is pretty cool. That keeps me busy. And other than that, we actually have a transportation company. So we deliver boats and trailers and, a lot of antiques. So that offers my youngest son, who's still living with me, it's a great opportunity. We spend 2 or 3 days a week on the road, traveling, through small cities, and, we try to take some photos as well. And again, it just goes back to that whole history thing for me, seeing the country, seeing those small places, interacting with people, and, trying to pass that along to my kids. And it all really does, go way back to, starting there at Cal State San Marcos. It's taught me that, you need to see what's out there, and, meet other people, and, get outside your box.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, that's an amazing wrap up, Roger. I can attest that following you on social media, that you are definitely a great man and a good father. So I can totally see that. That's something you can't fake. And someone like me who doesn't have kids, looking at that, I mean, I'm like, wow, this is great to see. People who we grew up with and at one part of our life, right? We all went through one stage together, and we all went separate ways. But we always look back and see, wow, that's great what they're doing now, and you're one of those. That's very cool. So I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us here, and hopefully this gets out to everybody, and they can see and share and with their experiences as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Frank. I mean, it was my pleasure. It's great talking to you. I mean, I've definitely been watching you on social media. I'm a little envious of you being in Barcelona. Have you gone to any matches?
I have a couple of matches. Yes, I went to a couple of matches, and it's definitely like what they see on TV. It's crazy. It's hysterical. People here. It is a religion here, and at nighttime, because I live in the city, when Barca's playing at home, when there's a goal, you hear it. People scream and go crazy outside the windows, and so when that happens, I know, like, oh, Barca must have just scored. So yeah, it's an amazing experience, and of course, the invitation's open to everyone, and you as well, to come out here and visit. So yeah, it's great.
I'd love to get that opportunity. It was fantastic catching up with you, Frank.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing some of these from the other guys. I think that would be really awesome, to see where everyone's at. You got to get Brack on here. That's the guy we need. We need to see what's going on with that guy.
Right. One last thing for you. Open mic. Talk to the brothers. Anything you want to say? Last comments.
From the deepest part of my heart, it's an honor to know all the guys. I would be there for a second if you guys needed my help. In the past, some have reached out, and I've definitely offered whatever assistance I have available to them. I hope that this will be a great way for us to all reconnect. And it'd be awesome if we could all us, not like that Greek meeting that gets set up from time to time, but if we could maybe pull together and like all meet up. And I'm always a fan of Vegas, right? Meet up there, but we could go somewhere else, because it would really be great to stay in touch and see where everybody's at, because at the end of the day, we are we were very impressionable to each other, and we have something very sacred that we did together. And while we're not brothers genetically, we are brothers. And I miss everybody that I don't get a chance to talk to, and it would be great to hear from a lot of the other guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You're definitely right. We are brothers in the bond. That's for sure. Okay. Well, Roger, thanks a lot. And we'll hopefully catch up some other time, and we'll chat again. All right.
Sounds good, Frank. Take care, boss.
All right. Bye bye, Roger.
See ya.